I call to order the East Brunswick Township Council Agenda Action Meeting for May 20th, 2019. Can everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please have a seat. Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Councilman McAvoy.
Here.
Councilman Spadafino.
Here.
Councilwoman Sullivan.
Here.
Councilman Wendell.
Here.
Council President Stanley.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required under Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, specifying the time, date, location, and to the extent known, the agenda, by posting a copy on the Municipal Building Public Notice Bulletin Board located in the main lobby, providing a copy to the Home News Tribune and Sentinel newspapers, posting a copy on the Township's website, and by filing a copy in the office of the Township Clerk, in accordance with the certification which will be entered in the minutes.
Thank you. Tonight we're starting with a proclamation. There's a proclamation for Girl Scout Troop 80337 for Project Gratitude. And this proclamation will be read by Mayor Cohen. And the Girl Scouts can come up to the podium.
So this is a proclamation for Girl Scout Troop 80337 on Project Gratitude. We will be hearing a similar proclamation by Councilman McAvoy for ShopRite on behalf of the exact same project. So whereas Girl Scout Troop 80337 is part of East Brunswick, Milltown, and South River Service Unit, and the Girl Scouts of Southern and Central New Jersey, 12 young women in our troop worked on a service project to support the 4 servicemen from East Brunswick who were recently deployed overseas for a military operation. Our scouts called this service Project Gratitude. And whereas the scouts in Troop 80337 wrote and made presentations to the management of the Spotswood ShopRite, their school principal, and their school community at Warnsdorfer Elementary School to seek their support with this project. The Scouts collected, organized, and packaged donations for our servicemen and women, including homemade cards, as a show of gratitude for their service. The Scouts used a portion of the proceeds from their cookie sales to mail the care packages overseas. And whereas Girl Scout Troop 80337 has demonstrated outstanding leadership and determination that have made their hard work and efforts towards the betterment of the American servicemen and women stationed overseas. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Brad J. Cohen, Mayor of the Township of East Brunswick, do extend my sincere thanks to the Girl Scout Troop 80337 and their leaders and commend them for their compassion for the servicemen and women and for being such positive role models for our community. The girls who are being recognized are Junior Girl Scouts Leah Angelo, Althea Danish, Caitlin De Silva, Victoria Halsey, Maria Rampolo, and Jolie Solomon. The Brownie Girl Scouts are Ava Herrick, Sydney Hitchens, Rachel Kaplan, Sophia Rampola, Isabel Rubenstein, and Anvita Shankir. Both leaders, Christine Rampola and Sharon Kaplan. Ladies, congratulations. I'm going to ask that your leaders distribute the certificates to each one of you. And if it's okay, we'd like to have a picture with all of you to keep for posterity and for our records. Do you think that's a good idea? I do. Somebody want to take a picture?
You can come on up.
You come up here and take a picture.
Yeah, no problem. We're together.
I think they're going to face the
Face
other
this
way.
way.
I don't want to say the little one, but the little one behind.
Already.
Spread out. There's one being hidden.
And
No, wait. There's one being hidden.
The
One's
one
getting
right
in front of Brad.
Yeah, let her come around. That's it.
and cheese.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I believe, do you want to say something?
We were asked to tell you a little bit about Girl Scouts and Girl Scouts in general and in East Brunswick. But my co-leader, Sharon Kaplan, and I firmly believe in the idea of letting them lead. So what we wanted to do was have the girls come up and really tell you about Girl Scouts, Girl Scouting in East Brunswick, and let them tell you a little bit about the project. So this is a speech that they all wrote themselves together.
My name is Advita Shankar, and I am a proud member of Girl Scout Troop 80337. We are 6 brownies who are in 3rd grade and 6 juniors who are in 4th grade, and we all go to Warrenstoffer Elementary School. Our troop belongs to the East Brunswick Milltown South River Service Unit, which is part of the Girl Scouts of Central and Southern New Jersey.
There are 2.5 million Girl Scouts in the world who believe in the power of every girl to change the world. The GIRL agenda helps us be go-getters, innovators, risk-takers, and leaders. We practice those skills by working on earning badges and journeys that include take-action projects.
We decided to do service projects because we wanted to show our gratitude to the world. Our goal of Operation Gratitude is to show the military our thanks for keeping us safe. These 4 servicemen will be very happy and overjoyed when they see the care packages we sent them. This is important to us because we all realize this will stick with us for the rest of our lives.
In the past 4 years, our troop has done several service projects to help a lot of members out of our community. We have donated important items to an animal shelter, adopted an East Brunswick family for Thanksgiving and Christmas to help make their holidays brighter, and decorated and donated table decorations for the residents of the Chelsea Adult Living Center, and gave members of our local rescue squad some treats to warm them back up after answering emergency calls. All of these projects helped our community in many different ways.
We had a meeting with Councilman Kevin McAvoy, and he explained to our troop that there are 4 East Brunswick service members deployed overseas, and that they could use some home essentials and some items of comfort. He provided us with a list, and we partnered with ShopRite to collect some of those items. We created a presentation to speak to the manager, and then as a troop, we went to ShopRite and collected those items.
The second part of the project was to meet with our principal and ask for his permission to hold a donation drive at our school. Then we needed to pack all the boxes, which was very fun because we made them homemade cards. Lastly, we mailed the boxes to the 4 servicemen. We learned that this was pricey, so we used our money that we earned by selling Girl Scout cookies.
In addition to service work, Girl Scouts do a lot of activities together just for fun, like camping, Me and My Guy dances, and seeing Broadway plays. We also learn outdoor skills, visit museums, and college sports, go ice skating, create pottery, program robots, and work on STEM projects. We enjoy the time we spent together. We would like to thank Councilman McAvoy for making us aware of the servicemen
members deploying and helping us with this project. We would also like to thank our principal, Mr. Satari, for letting us hold a drive at Warnsdorfer Elementary School for care package items. We appreciate that all the very generous donations we received ShopRite. Thank you to the manager for meeting with us and to all the employees who helped us receive the donations from your store. Thank you also to our mayor and our councilman and councilwoman for welcoming us to your meeting and letting us tell you why we love Girl Scouts.
Thank you so much. It's so great to see such young kids, going into the community and doing such a great service. I believe Councilman McAvoy would like to say a few words.
When I found out that 3 of the 4 servicemen that were going to be deployed sat in my classroom, it was overwhelming insofar as the commitment that these men and women have made to make our nation safe. And so the effort that I put forth is minimal compared to the work that was done by our good friends in ShopRite, as well as the Girl Scouts who worked very carefully to prepare everything that went overseas. I just want to clarify one thing, because during this process I made sure that we kept the information quiet regarding who the servicemen were and who they were deployed with, but we have with us this evening Mr. Stu Cohn, who's sitting in the back over here, and his son is one of the 4, and he brought it to my attention that the group is involved in Operation Enduring Freedom, Northern Horn, Africa, Charlie Company, 2nd Battalion, 113th Infantry Regiment, and we wish them Godspeed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And sir, thank you for your son's service to our country. At this time, we're going to move forward with another proclamation for Spotswood ShopRite for same project gratitude for Dominic Romero, the manager at ShopRite, and Councilman McAvoy will be reading the proclamation.
Can we have everyone join us at the podium? Please. You got it. You want to stand with me, Dom? You're the leader of the group.
Wow. Actually, they're the leaders.
I know what you
I
mean.
just follow.
Makes it easy.
Yeah.
Proclamation, Spotswood ShopRite Project Gratitude. Whereas the Spotswood ShopRite store manager, Mr. Dominic Romeo, store assistant managers, store professionals, they recognize that American servicemen and women are deployed overseas, and that 4 East Brunswick servicemen have been called to duty. And whereas the East Brunswick Girl Scout Troop 80337, while organizing their troop service project, Project Gratitude, prepared a list of supplies for the servicemen, came to the store to ask Mr. Romeo if he could help. Mr. Romeo in turn delegated his staff to fulfill the troop's list of supplies and presented the troop with 5 shopping carts full of needed supplies. And whereas today we demonstrate our gratitude, most of all for the ideals of generosity and selflessness, which Spotswood ShopRite, Dominic Romeo, and his staff have shared with our Girl Scouts and the greater East Brunswick community. Along with his managerial staff, we respect the caring and know that our Girl Scouts and servicemen are given a level of kindness and compassion which we all seek to emulate every day. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Brad Cohn, Mayor of the Township of East Brunswick, and his team and the team at Spotswood for their continued generosity and support and involvement in our community, and encourage my fellow residents to thank the Spotswood ShopRite team for truly understanding what community means. Thank you, and
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Just arriving at the Spotswood store from the Clark area, but I tell you, this was one of my first donations I had to agree to. Actually, it wasn't even an agreement. It was 100%, I'm all in. And when I saw the girls come up and ask for their items and said, it's not a problem, ladies, my job is easy, I say yes. Okay, their job is the hard one, and along with our servicemen. Okay, we can't thank them more enough than to protect us as far as that is concerned. But ladies, great job. Okay, awesome job. If you need anything else, just, you know where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Picture of it? Yeah.
Want to get a snap?
Sure.
One.
When they're done taking the picture, I want to say something.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I had a couple things that I wanted to add to this. First, I wanted to thank Councilman McAvoy for bringing attention to this issue and being able to do something so wonderful for the servicemen and women that put their lives at harm's way many times to protect the lives that and the life we live here in this country. I also wanted to try to not steal the history teacher away from the history teacher, but does any one of you know when the Girl Scouts was founded? It was founded in 1912. And right around the turn of the last century, not the turn of this century, but around the turn of the last century, it wasn't common for people of middle-class roots to go to school. Public schools didn't start till the late 1800s. Before that, if you wanted an education, you either come from wealth, or you went to private schools, or you got your education from churches, synagogues, and if you didn't have that, there was nothing else. And through the late 1800s to the early 1900s, there was a big boom in the American economy as we went through an industrial revolution. And that created an enormous amount of difference between those people that made a lot of money and those people that didn't. And into that environment came Theodore Roosevelt as president, who, with a lot of his changes that had to do with antitrust and allowing a middle class in this country to build. And today, there is no larger economic force in the world than the American middle class. And they, in turn, recognize that we have a responsibility as Americans to make sure that this growing group of vital Americans have an opportunity to reach the highest levels of leadership that up until that point had really only been something that only the very rich in this country were able to attain. But you have to be prepared with the skills that you need to become leaders. Keep in mind, in 1912, women still didn't have the right to vote, and women couldn't serve in the U.S. Armed Services. And yet, they recognized that there's an obligation on our part to make sure that you have the skills that someday there'll be a group of young ladies just like yourself who should have every reason to believe that you should be able to reach the pinnacles of leadership in this country, and that we would entrust you with those skills. And it's Girl Scouts and the other organization, Boy Scouts, that was charged, along with your family and along with the schools, to give you those skills that one day you'll be the leaders, whether that's the leader of your school or the leader in your church or synagogue, whether that's a leadership in business world or in politics. There's absolutely no reason, and you see to this day, women running for the highest office of the land. That all came on the backs of organizations like Girl Scouts, who were charged with making sure that you have those skills. So we expect a lot of really, really big things from you young ladies. And the work that you just did now, contributing and helping to recognize those who are putting their lives on the line for us, is just the start of what I believe will be very, very, very impressive careers for every one of you. And I think we all should give you a round of applause.
Thank you, Mayor Cohen. Moving on, we're going to a proclamation for the National Gun Violence Awareness Day, June 7, 2019, which will be read by Councilman Spadafino. And if Rachel Gurvich is here, can you please come up to the podium?
Please do.
Office of the Mayor, proclamation. National Gun Violence Awareness Day, June 7th, 2019. Whereas every day, 100 Americans are killed by gun violence, and on average, there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other high-income developed countries, and whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the district's highest responsibility, and whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people with dangerous histories. And whereas in January 2013, Hadia Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later, should be now celebrating her 22nd birthday. And whereas to help honor Hadia's and the 100 Americans whose lives are cut short and the country's survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 7th, 2019, the first Friday in June, as the 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange, they chose this color because where orange is to announce, hunters use orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 7th, the first Friday in June in 2019, to help raise awareness about gun violence, and whereas by wearing orange on June 7th, 2019, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Township of East Brunswick declares June 7th, 2019 to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day. We urge citizens to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence and to declare that we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence. Given under my hand and the Great Seal Township of East Brunswick this 20th day of May in the year 2019, Mayor Brad J. Cohen.
Thank you to Mayor Cohen and the East Brunswick Town Council for giving me this time to speak about declaring National Gun Violence Awareness Day. My name is Rachel Gurvich, and I'm a resident of East Brunswick and the group leader of East Brunswick's group of Students Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Students Demand Action is a nonpartisan grassroots movement begun right after the Newtown school shooting in 2012. While we fully support the right of law-abiding citizens to own firearms, our goal is to reduce the 36,000 gun deaths every year through sensible legislation, raising awareness, and by promoting gun safety. I sincerely thank you for announcing this proclamation for National Gun Violence Awareness Day in East Brunswick. I invite everyone who agrees we can do more to save American lives from gun violence, to wear orange on June 7th, to help spread the word about the importance of remembering and honoring all victims of gun violence. We also invite you and your families to attend our event on Friday, June 7th from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Unitarian Society at 176 Ticey's Lane. Or if you can't come, join us for an interfaith community gathering being hosted in conjunction with Moms Demand Action Middlesex County on Sunday, June 9th at 1 p.m. If you'd like any more information about the events or Students Demand Action, please feel free to email us at sdaeastbrunswick@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at SDA East Brunswick. Thank you for your time, and if you don't mind, I'd love to take a quick picture with you and the council.
Sure.
Can you take it up here?
I don't have my orange on. I didn't know.
Yeah, come on up here. Stand up in the back. Stand up on the...
You want to come to the front? You guys come to the Mom.
Watch the step.
Watch the step there.
Come over here.
Yeah. Watch the step.
Ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, one more. Thank you.
I don't want to mess up the judge's
Young lady, would you mind emailing that picture to mayor@eastbrunswick.org? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Say nothing. We gotta have an ice cream depot in East Brunswick. We gotta go to Newtown. Ice cream. Yeah, but that's expensive.
I know.
Thank you. Moving forward, seeing that there's no agenda session tonight or any public hearings, going straight to the report section. Any reports from our mayor tonight?
Thank you, Council President. 3 quick things. One, just wanted to remind residents that Crystal Springs will be opening on Saturday, and that garbage pickup will be moving to twice a week starting this week. And the third thing is on redevelopment. I know there's been a lot of talk all around town, social media, different places, and it's a process that the town has been undergoing and reviewing through the redevelopment agency and through the township administration. And as I had said earlier in a public statement, that it is a ongoing process. The one particular area on Route 18, which is where the former Lomans and Gap and Wiz area is located, is about a 35-acre parcel that's been sent out for RFP, and we've, as a redevelopment agency, selected a conditional developer for that project that's still yet to sign because we're in the process of negotiating exactly what that's going to look like. And so what you have heard in the public has really concentrated only on one tiny portion of this 35-acre parcel that includes retail space and residential space and hotel space and a parking deck and many, many features. And one of those features included a small set-aside for the town to use for a municipal purpose. That municipal purpose could be part or all or none of the civic center here. It could be a theater, it could be a community center, it could be many things. That's for the town to decide how we're going to use that municipal space. We could also opt to not take municipal space and let the developer keep that and develop it and get higher tax revenue. All of those are options that the town and the redevelopment agency will be working through. But in that process, we've studied the numbers, we're looking at land use, we're looking at alternatives, and so a couple of decisions have been made as we've moved forward in that process. One was that the senior center, which was never part of consideration for being moved, needed to be reaffirmed in the public because many of our seniors were nervous that if you moved any part, they thought that we were moving the whole thing, which was never true. There was a lot of outcry against moving the library. We decided that that's not going to be moved. And now that we've actually started looking at numbers, looking at land use opportunity, what we would do at the space here if we did move anything, the conclusion at the end of the day is that it really makes no sense at this point in time to move any part of the municipal complex over to the Route 18 location for a host of reasons, not the least of which is that there's public outcry against doing it, and yet at the same time we have a lot of people who think it's the greatest idea under the sun. But it all boils down to money, to land use, to what we would do with the space here. And so that we're transparent with what our plans. At this point, we've come to the conclusion that that actually doesn't make sense. One of the thoughts was that if we lost or took away some space here at the municipal complex, we would consider over 55 housing, since that's such a need in this township and it's closest to where the senior center is, and most of the people who are over 55, those communities are close location to here. But the amount of space that would be left by moving one building wouldn't really be able to make that project doable. So we will find another public purpose for that space. To put it in perspective, again, it is a tiny portion of a overwhelmingly exciting project for that highway, and we mostly feel that it's not worth sidetracking that great project for a purpose that isn't something that we can demonstrate great need, and we will find another purpose, and that will be something that the town can do in conjunction with the residents offering their opinions, the developers giving us ideas of what would work, and the redevelopment agency and the administration taking all that information and coming to a conclusion as to what's best for the township. So I thought that it would be worth having everybody get a sense of clearing the air, and let's concentrate on the bigger project and not one tiny piece of it that seems to have hijacked the entire conversation. So I just wanted to make that public here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. From our town administrator?
Yeah, just one item, just to remind folks that the Memorial Day observance will be Sunday, May 26th, here at the Veterans Park at the Municipal Complex at 1 p.m., and I'm hoping that all members of the community can attend at that time. Thank you. That's all, sir.
Thank you. And from our town attorney?
No report tonight, Council President.
Thank you, sir. From our township clerk?
Nothing.
Anything from the council? Councilwoman Sullivan?
Just to remind everyone, June 1st is the Art and Music Festival from 11 to 5. And also, with the Drug Alliance, Hidden in Plain Sight, Wednesday, May 29th. It's a free substance abuse prevention awareness program, and it'll be at Memorial School. Anyone that enters must be 21. There will be complimentary childcare. Refreshments will be served at 6:30. Program starts promptly at 7. Hope to see everyone there.
Thank you.
And one other thing. One other thing is, I've been having office hours on Tuesdays, but I feel that some people are saying that they can't make it on different days. So if you want, you could email me at ssullivan@eastbrunswick.org, and you could we'll set up a mutual time to meet here at the municipal building. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Council? Seeing none, I will close the report section. Moving on to the public portion. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please raise your hands, come up to the podium. Limit your comments to 5 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record, and direct all your comments to the chair. Thank you.
So I'm Peter Esco, 40 Sandalwood Drive.
47 what?
Sandalwood.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure if this is the correct place to be talking about this or somewhere else. I guess for future projects, not the ones that have been approved already, like in terms of the town green zone, is this a place to mention, like any suggestions to make?
This is the...
Oh, it is, okay. So we had that recent thing with the Old Stage Road and Summerhill Road. It's zoned for 12 units per acre. But what the developer in that project has done is basically said, okay, stick the CVS here, stick the bank over here, and then this roughly half the property gets about 5 acres is the apartments. But the whole property is 10 acres. So it was zoned for, I think that zone is for 12 units per acre. So the developer has come in, he's tried to put in 120 townhomes. 120 apartments, that is. Would it be a viable suggestion to say, if you're going to use only 5 acres of this for the housing, only 5 acres times 12 would apply for 60 homes in the future?
So I was talking about the buffer.
Yeah.
The buffer space is still part of their property. So they get, and the planning board chairman's here, and Mr. Chairman, if I say anything incorrectly, please correct me. So they get credit.
You always are correct.
They get credit for the buffer areas. So the wooded area that they're not touching is still their property. So they get credit for that particular area. I believe it's 50 foot on the one side and 150 foot on the other side. So it's the entire parcel that makes up the site, not just the site part that they're building on. So we can't do that because he owns that property.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, for this particular, I realize that's a done deal. But I mean, just like going forward, if any developer were to try this on another plot of land somewhere else, say, hey, if you're going to want to build only on the 5 acre portion of it, this is what you're allowed to build.
What you're trying to say is that the retail says you shouldn't get credit for the land under the retail for
Right.
the residential use.
So I'll address it. Unfortunately, that zoning ordinance, as it applies to only 1 or 2 other parcels around town, right out here in front of the municipal building is one of them, is part of a settlement that was agreed to by different council, different mayor, and the court will not allow us to change that, not even one word. We tried it earlier in the year. The judge smacked our hand, more or less, told the mayor he couldn't participate in the hearing, and basically threatened if we tried to change it again, he'd take over our zoning.
No, I don't mean for that particular thing, but total future for other.
It's a settlement that's from years ago, and we're not allowed to touch it.
Oh, I see. So it's not an East Brunswick thing.
There were lawsuits in the 1980s and 90s and 2000s under the Mount Laurel settlement. It's a dictate from the Supreme Court of New Jersey that towns have to enter into settlement agreements to provide for affordable housing. And once you have that settlement agreement, you need the property owner, the court, and the Affordable Housing Coalition, and the court special master to agree to a change, and they're not agreeing to changes at the moment. So we're bound by settlements from years ago.
So I guess my second question might be a similar answer. The second question is the TG zone. At least what was done there probably was not really in the mind of, I guess, everybody who came up with what the TG zone should look like. You would think of, obviously, a main street somewhere, Metuchen or wherever. Obviously, I'm not smart enough to come up with these ideas, but is there some way in the future, I don't know if it's done at some other meeting somewhere, where there has to be some sort of design language that says it must look like a town zone, not just stick a CVS here and stick apartments there, just to make it more.
The changes we attempted were we wanted to have the retail and the residential together, like you're suggesting, in a downtown.
Yeah.
And we wanted to change 10 feet on the setback, and the court said no. They're not going to let us change that because they're not going to let us change it there or any other place where the town green is zoned unless we get all four parties who were involved to agree to change it. And right now, there's not the temperament from the other three parties to agree to changes. Is it impossible? No. Does everyone hold out hope that the legislature will take some action finally to address the affordable housing situation so you don't have courts making the decision? There's hope, but I don't think anybody's holding their breath on it. It's been a fight for 35 years now.
Okay.
And as town green zone is particular to East Brunswick, but every other town has an affordable housing obligation,
Right.
and they face the same things that we do. Different zone names, but same problems.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of any other way in the future just to prevent another one of these from being on the other end of town, or.
Well, the good thing is the only other town green is right out in front here, and it's a relatively large parcel on the roadway.
All right, that's basically it. There's just...
Okay. Good questions.
All right, well, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Hello, Wilbur Pan, live at 223 Milltown Road. So I just wanted to express my appreciation to the mayor and everybody else that's been involved with the redevelopment plans in terms of their willingness to listen to public input on how the plan should look like. I know that there's, as the mayor said, there's been a lot of talk over a relatively small portion of this project, and I realize how big this project is, but I think that's probably a reflection of how engaged the town is and how much the people of the town really appreciate and love the library. But as I said before, I mainly want to express my appreciation for all of you in terms of your willingness to listen to the public and take input. Two quick questions about the redevelopment project. So my understanding is currently there's a negotiation going on with the developer, and there's a deadline. I've heard various dates, 90, 120 days, in terms of when that part of this project is expected to end. Do we have an actual date on?
Yes.
Yes.
The conditional designation is until June 19th.
Okay.
But the redevelopment agency can take action to further that date if negotiations have been fruitful.
And it's very common that if you pick a short date to keep people's feet to the fire, and if there's progress, then you
can extend it. Okay. And so my understanding is that once that negotiation is completed, the redevelopment plan is more or less in place. There's some room for a negotiation, but not a whole lot. Is that a fair characterization?
Well, the redevelopment plan has already been adopted by the council. The redevelopment project, what the developer wants to build within that plan, is what's being negotiated.
Right.
So there'll be public input and time for public comment also, because I know Councilman Wendell, who chairs the redevelopment agency, wants to have as much public input as possible. When they get to the point where here's the plan, here's the redevelopment agreement, there's a public session at every meeting for public input on that plan.
Which actually segues into my next question.
And
is
that
what's
will
the-
be presented to the planning board as well.
Yeah, all right. And so, in terms of public input, what's the best mechanism for that to happen?
Attendance at the meetings once we get closer.
Okay. So that would be the redevelopment?
Redevelopment agency, yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and then the planning board when the plans
But,
go.
Wilbur,
Yeah.
we're all reachable.
Yep. Okay. All right. Again, I just want to express my appreciation to everybody involved in terms of your willingness to listen to public input, because I know that doesn't actually happen all the time. So that's great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'm closing the public portion. Moving on to the consent agenda. Item J has been pulled from the consent agenda tonight. Is there any other items the council wishes to separate? Seeing none, I'm asking for a motion for items A through I and K through M.
Motion approved.
Motion by Councilman Wendell. Can I get a second? Second by Councilman Spadafino. Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Councilman McAvoy,
Yes.
Councilman Spadafino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sullivan,
Yes.
Councilman Wendell,
Yes.
Council President Stanley.
Yes. Seeing that there is no ordinance requiring a public hearing date of June 10, 2019, or no new business, moving on for the good of the cause. Anybody in council have anything for good of the cause?
May I, Council President? Sure. Tonight was a perfect example of a thought process that I've had for quite a while, and granted, I could probably come in and see Mr. Crisculo and speak with him in his office, but just bear with me. I'd like to see you get rid of these tables out here, okay? And what I'd like you to do is replace them with rectangular yet narrow tables, because I've been here for the planning board presentation. I've been here for court. I've been here for this and that, and I know that a lengthy rectangular table that's maybe 2 feet wide could be vetted for whatever's going on in the courtroom here. And then when we have our meetings, the legs get folded up. The second door to the right, that leads us to where you pay your fines when you are in court and you've been a bad boy. So we can go in there and put these tables, and then that opens up all of this area for the picture-taking session so that it looks a lot more professional. I happen to have enough time in my hands where I watch the Edison Township Council meetings, I watch the Woodbridge Township Council meetings, and they have this band-esque area where it proves very beneficial for just getting everybody to turn around. It was interesting watching the Girl Scouts. They were sort of circling. They didn't know what they were going to do. So we got them there, and then we had all the parents taking the pictures with our great seal. Mm-hmm. I think it would be really an improvement. It's just food for thought. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? I would just like to mention that on June 8th, there's going to be a color fun run again being held at the Playhouse. This is the third year that's running, and the money that's raised is going for a charitable cause. Anyone who wants to join, it's I think $20 to run. You can go on colorfunrun.eb.com and register. Thank you. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Motion adjourned.
Motion by Councilman Wendell. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Sullivan. Everyone in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye.